Tessa's question last week kept coming to my mind. And she asked a question about, well, when you say, I remember when, then she wanted to link and then what do you say, what do you argue mind for the right now? You remember? Do you remember? You don't remember? Sometimes Esther is sharing, and we ask her what she said. What did I say? So that's what. And then I responded, and I told you. You remember me saying no simultaneous, same time? You know, I remember when and shifting to right now. There's a simultaneousness there. There's a same time connection there. It's spiritual talk. So today we're going to break that point down. I remember when. If you were not here last week, you could have listened to the lesson on website, YouTube. And you still can, and we have the recording from last week always here on the CD. But that's how you can stay in link with lesson to lesson, because these are building blocks. They can't stand alone, but can you see how they are building blocks? Can you see how they're interlinked lessons? With the divine plan, I'm not planning this out in advance. I'm given the plan and I'm just simply following it. Can you see that also? Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, this will make much more sense to you when you go back and listen to the previous two lessons. The passage that you have, it says, I remember when and now. So the topic for today is and now. Because last week, our topic was the empty lot. Right? So do you know how to apply that empty lot idea now?
Yes.
You see, you stand in front of your empty lot. So whatever your prayer request, whatever your desire is, whatever you're working on can be your empty lot as a tool for prayer here, as a visualization, using your imagination. Remember, what is the theme? What is our overall theme? The law of assumption. How did you forget that class? You just said it 3 minutes ago. So I'll ask you again. And everybody who can't answer it, you have to give an extra $50 today. This is very important. Now, is this a sermon? Is this an inspirational talk? If that is what you're looking for, come back on Sunday and come back on Wednesday. That is not what Tuesday is. It is a class. There is a difference. It is a teaching experience, not a preaching one. These things you are required to do systematically. If you're not here, listen to the series. I don't charge you for them. They're online free. The CD is available when you come here the next week. And what I'm saying is this stuff is more than sound good. Now, when you hear this and when you left here, you feel good because this stuff sounds good. Feels good. Means nothing if we're not applying. Last week we got into the meat of it and we talked about no more drama. That was into it. What happened between last week and this week with your drama? How did you deal with drama as it came? I won't ask you, did something come up? Anybody want to share? How'd you deal with the drama? Because until and unless you do, you're sabotaging. You're sabotaging. And you're taking breaks. Didn't we talk about taking breaks?
Yes.
And yet you got something in the other. Yet you got something that you're working on. And it hasn't risen to that level of, it ain't hurting bad enough yet. That's all I can say. You don't want it bad enough yet. That's not my fault. I don't do that. That was Jesus. I'll tell you what he said when I go back up there. He just dropped the message.
I have been dealing with something for about 10 years. My oldest sister all of a sudden just stopped speaking to the family. She didn't have any. So after last week, I went into meditation and I said, I remember when and now. So when I went into meditation, the now came. It said, Carolyn, get dressed and go to your sister's home. So I followed what Spirit said, and she was hesitant at first, but it ended in beauty.
Amen.
So now the family, because she called my youngest sister, and family is speaking now.
Amen. Amen. That's right. Amen.
You remember the importance of this, the fast. Do you see how it's helping you? This has to be applied consistently, persistently, 24/7. This is not off and on. Let's read it. It's your fast. I pray and I fast. Do you have it in front of you? Well, you're going to have it here. We're going to use this. We might use this every week, but we cannot give you a second copy. Okay. So let's read. I pray and I fast. I don't stop. I don't give up. I don't quit. What is impossible for men is possible with God. This kind goes not out except by prayer and fasting. And so, like this, I fast. I resist the habit of living in feelings from the past. I live only in the present. I refrain from talking about the past, realizing that my every word is created now. I refuse to allow the talk of others to cause me to see what does not exist. I dismiss all negative, silent chatter in my mind, and I give it no time to take root. I stop my mind from seeing the glass half empty, but I see the glass always half full instead. I avoid places, situations, and things that create negative energy in my space. I eliminate people from my life who knowingly hurt me physically or mentally. I terminate conversations with others quickly who speak disparagingly of others. I wipe my slate clean as I forgive and release the bitter deeds and words of others. I purge my mind of guilt and memories of words or deeds that may have hurt others. I rebuff any and all thoughts that I know hinder my spiritual unfoldment. I pluck out of my own eye and heart the desire or need to judge any person at all. I negate ideas I hear from the media and from any source that I know are not true. I cancel spoken words and statements that I know are not nice, kind, loving, and true. I reject all foods, drugs, and substances that I know are detrimental in any way. I deny myself of immoral, unethical, and unhealthy indulgences and behaviors that may give me pleasure, excitement, or sensational fulfillment, but at the same time leave me feeling embarrassed, shamed, unclean, or guilty after the experience. I clean my environment of all images that tempt me to make wrong choices which could sabotage my dream, success, or prayer demonstration. I expunge immediately any thought that may represent cynicism, downheartedness, despondency, pessimism, bleakness, gloominess, desperation, or hopelessness. I am a child of God. I know this. And that is all that matters. I train my mind to think only on God, to only know God as cause. For God is all there is, and all there is God. And so, like this, I fast, and so it is. Now, you apply that medicine to your life. You're walking around in that bubble, in that consciousness, in that light, and you're covered. Now, what we said, there is no way that I know that we can make this point clear. The only thing I know to do is to keep repeating it over and over and over. And that is this: the desire, the prayer request, the problem, the concern, the issue, the need. It has its own way of fulfillment, of manifestation, of expression, of showing up. And the only way that it is going to happen is through me, through you. But what is you? What is me? When I say that, what am I saying? Well, if you're talking spiritual talk, you're talking about me. You're talking about my life. That means everything that happens in my life, every moment of the day, that's my I am. That's who I am. So that means, let's go back and link this to what I said from the beginning. The problem, the need, the sickness, the answer, the desire. That is, so the desire is going to manifest through me. That means my life. So that incorporates and includes absolutely everything that is in my life and that is going on in my life. That includes the sister impasse, the no talking, that's it. Do you see? Everything is linked. Everything is linked to. So that means that until you pass this, you don't get to that. Until you pass this test, you don't get a chance to go to the next test. The scripture says, "Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, and see." Pass this test so you can be prepared for the next test. Prove means to demonstrate. Prove, demonstrate, do it. So that means, tying it back to last week's topic, not topic, but discussion about drama, as the drama comes up, judge not according to appearances. There's no such thing as distraction. It's redirection. What you call distraction is just a redirection. Not here, no. So you don't interpret things the wrong way and get bogged down into confusion because you interpreted the situation the wrong way. What did I say last week that I did? What did I do? Y'all wasn't here.
Well,
What drama? About drama. When I said, when an issue of drama came up for me, I decided to sit down and talk about it and discuss it. Remember? Go to a different setting. Don't argue at home.
oh, yeah, okay.
Do you remember what I'm saying? You know, is that don't recognize it for what it's not. See it as a redirection. And see, okay, this is something I need to talk about. This is something, you see, rather than a problem. Don't identify things as a problem right on. Do you remember? Because it goes back, that's your prayer unfolding. That is your desire. So your desire is leading you through these meandering ways, through this maze, from here to there, from here to there. That's the healing of the cancer that is happening. That is the healing of the disease. That is the healing of the impasse in whatever your business. That is it. It's all connected. No, we want to separate things. You can't separate your life like that. That's me. That's who you are. Right? So what I ask you to do here, now I'm trusting that you have enough background in terms of being here and listening and following, and if you're not here, kitchen, so that you'll understand what we're talking about here today. And if you don't, you need to go back and listen to the earlier recordings. Your pass out requires an exercise here today. Do you see what it says? It says 1, 2, 3. You see that?
Yeah.
It says recall at least 3 problems that have occurred in the past in your life. This does not have to be shared with the group. But if you want to, it will be helpful for you, for us to dialogue with it. So we need you to meditate for a minute. You don't need to fill this out today. But you can take, this is what you can take home. You are to recall, right now can you think of, in the 1, 2, 3 says, these in different areas. Recall a difficult health challenge that you've experienced in the past. But it's important in this category that health challenge or problem no longer bothers you. You're no longer concerned about it. It's either healed or you just decide to let it go. Think of something. And or recall a hurtful or regretful memory that involved a personal relationship in the family, or a more personal or a business relationship. It doesn't matter. But that problem is healed. It's no longer a problem in your life. Are you with me? Are you with me? You guys can pay attention to me. I got you right here. Okay. Are you thinking about that?
Yes.
It can be 3 of these or 1 of these, but it would be good if you can get 2 or 3 of these. Or recall now some other problem that has occurred in your life that's not like the 2 examples above, or whatever. This is an exercise. This is a practice. This is what I received early this morning when I couldn't go back to sleep at 1:30 and I was waiting for, which way do I go today, Lord? I'll be gone in a minute. And then Tessa's question came to mind, and that this came out of that. and how to do this and how to answer her question and how to apply this. When you're standing before your empty lot, by the example of what we talked about in last week's pass out, which you have today also. When grandfather was standing, he was sharing with the people the key to his success. And he was standing there talking to the gentleman, sharing with them what the key to his success of being a successful builder was back in New York City back in the day. When there were hardly any buildings around, and you know what it looks like now. He said he would stand in front of an empty lot. But he would vividly, he described to the people and to himself, the building or buildings that he wanted to put on that empty lot. And he saw it there. But in his consciousness, in his mind, in his thinking, he claimed that he saw as a reality, as a completed, finished deal. He walked around in that consciousness of already having it, of it being already finished, and claiming it as already done. And at that instant, in that moment, life was given to the thing. The thing was created. So it's already done. It's already created. Creation is finished. And spiritually, you walk in that consciousness. I am healed now. That being true, then you go into what we talked about last week and what we are making it more clear today, tying it back to the lesson number 1 of this series, and this is lesson number 3. Lesson number 1, under the theme, the law of assumption, was why prayer fails. Realizing that we now know why prayer fails, we decided to slow it down, let's review, let's go back to the old lessons, and let's support one another here in putting this into practice. What does it mean by he was standing in front of the empty lot? And then how can you use that analogy yourself and apply it to singular things in your life day by day, one at a time? That's what we're doing. Can you see it? So, what we have to do now is that creation is finished. The healing of the disease, whatever you go into to the doctor for, is finished. The financial need, the housing, the transportation, the relationship problem, filling in the blank, throw out something else, not you, but give me somebody else, your cousins, other folks who are dealing with. Name something. Foreclosures, come on. Anger, come on. Bankruptcy, come on. Career, business, success. The point is that whatsoever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. You stand in front of your empty lot. That's your empty lot. That is, with all the things that you just named, is your empty lot. Now, what you want to do is see the building on the empty lot already established. Name the things that we're talking about. It's already done, already finished. Then go back to what we keep repeating over and over and over. The thing itself knows how to show up. as the answer, in the form of the answer. It has a life of its own. That's spiritual thinking. How in some peculiar way, I don't know. How is not my business. My business is what? Consciousness, conscious mind says what? Subconscious takes over, says, I know how. Oh, I can do that. You don't need no money? No, I can do that. You don't need, I said I can do that. With what? With nothing. I just need you to do this. I pray and I fast. That's your job. My job is to make it happen. To make a way out of no way. To do things in a way that's never been done before. I told you about another person of several who we're working with on an intense basis, on some urgent situations, on some of those impossibles and incurables, and some of those I don't know what I'm going to do situations. And I told you he had surgery scheduled for the end of the month. And he had accepted the final date, and he was feeling good about how things were falling in place with the doctors and all of that, and he was scheduled for surgery. Then I said, well, that kind of puzzled me. You did accept that? Then I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to work on one level. The doctor can do anything, and God works through medicine, God works through surgery, God works through all that. I am never going to say anything negative about that, because if I need it, I want it. But at the same time, I'm leaving the door open. I'm not letting the window down and locking the door. I'm saying that. But it's never too late for God. While I'm fall back on this, but wait a minute. Let me keep this first. God still can. I can go there on that day of the surgery and I say, well, would you take one more x-ray? Or would you look at this one more time before we go in? Or would you check this one more time? No, give me one more check, because I've been working on something. And I'm expecting you to be surprised. I'm not going to be surprised if this thing hasn't turned out the other way, but I'm expecting you to be surprised. Do you see? You got to hold on to your mindset. Well, what is his problem? His problem is that I'm not too much older than he is. And maybe 10 years or less, somewhere around there. But the bone in the hip, no cartilage. And they want to do a hip replacement, Many people have been successful with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And if I needed that and my prayers hasn't manifested and it's showing and I'm walking, I consider that a miracle. I'm going to accept that. But I still am not giving up on the belief and faith and hope. God has, look at Charles Fillmore. You know what the story of his healing was? How many know? Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of the Unity Movement. Myrtle Fillmore was healed of tuberculosis in a day when there was no healing for tuberculosis. Tuberculosis was like AIDS was at one time, which it is not now, or some cancers were they're not as it is now, some this and some that. Well, tuberculosis at one time was a death notice. TB, okay, you start giving your stuff away. But what happened is that Myrtle applied this teaching and she was self-healed. And I guess that's the way she was. That's the technicality there is not important, but her husband was a skeptic. Following her and looking at her. But then he decided she was there his leg was natural, one shorter than the other. So let's talk about the bone cartilage and all that kind of stuff. The man started applying this stuff, and his legs grew evenly. Isn't that what happened?
Yes.
So, can God? Let's talk about the reptiles. Let's talk about the animal life. Let's talk about nature. have animals and the animal life and the animal world where they lose a limb and another one regrows?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my goodness, God can do this through an animal
Yes.
and can't do it through me. He said, I made you higher than. How can the animal grow limbs and you can and I can't? One distinction: the animals got sense. I mean, the human got sense and the animal don't. That's the difference. The animal don't have no sense. Don't know that it can't. Does not know that it can't. We know that's impossible with me. That's the difference. And so, don't you know that's what a miracle is? The miracle intervention of God in your life in situations like that is God showing up, transcending all laws, superseding every law in the universe that it created. Now, God created these laws. Don't you know that it can supersede,
Yes, it can.
interfere, intercede? It is done unto you as you believe. Let's go to Dr. Barbara King in Atlanta, who built a huge ministry. Later on, in more recent years, in 50, 60 years ago in her life, at a time still when tuberculosis had not been controlled, people were in institutions like she was. A young lady in college years in a sanitarium, laying there, picked up a book, Unity. God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger and feed. One of those things, one of those affirmations she was repeating. I don't know if it was that one or another one. Studying it. Suddenly the doctors start looking at her peculiarly. And she's wondering, well, something strange, something's going on here. Not knowing why they were observing her in a peculiar manner. And then finally when they sat and they told her that here the lungs, I guess they had been cut, had regrown. I might not be telling the story exactly right, but the point is, you telling me God can't regrow that in a human when he does it for animals?
Oh, yes.
And yet we have stories and testimonies of some humans where it has happened for and through.
Yes.
That means I'm going to get in line.
That's right.
And I'm going to expect and pray and believe that it can happen again through me. And when they told her that, they wanted to keep her for observation. She said, no, I'm going home. Got up and went home and built one of the largest ministries in Utah. Cartilage, God got some cartilage on the shelf. Or you can live your life from here out, bone to bone, and feel good about it.
Right.
With no pain. It is done unto you as you believe. With this that we're talking about. So let's go back to this. What is the purpose of this right here? So why then did I ask you to think of it? I don't need you to share them with me, but did you think of something of these categories that I asked you to think about something? What did I ask you to do? Number one. Anybody?
See yourself in front of a difficult.
No. What?
Think of a difficult health challenge.
Think of a difficult health challenge of the past. Or not only a health challenge, maybe some financial success, maybe some housing demonstration, or maybe some situation in a relationship, some problem of the past that was a problem in your life. But it no longer exists. It was healed, it was solved, but you went through something. Can you just raise your hand if you ever had something like that happen in your life? I see every hand in here raised. And that's what we need for this lesson.
Yes. Yes.
Now here we go. Yeah. The man was standing in front of the empty lot. The empty lot can represent the trouble or the problem or whatever the need is. But he said he described vividly in his imagination, he saw the answer. He saw what he wanted instead. Well, if you go to your last week's pass out, you don't have to go looking for it because I'm going to jump all around in there. It says, page 1. You must, on the very first page at the top, first, you must know what you want. Then create an image that fulfills it. Create an image that fulfills what you want. And it says at the bottom of that page, if you will assume it with feeling, your inward activity now established and perpetuated will objectify itself in the outside world. So, here we are standing in front of it. The thing is going to go into action and find a way through meandering ways to show up as itself outpictured and manifested. The thing itself goes to work and finds ways to fulfill itself and show itself in the image, like the image that you're holding in mind, like the feeling that you're holding in mind. Amen. Now, here's the lesson. As you're walking away from this, now it has happened. You go there from this point forward is what? I remember when. I remember when from the problem. He said, I remember when this land was empty. I remember when this spot was empty. But it is no longer empty in my consciousness, in my mind, in my soul. I remember when I was sick. I remember when my sister would not speak to me. I remember when I didn't have those 3 months payments. Now it's due 3 days from now. But I remember when I didn't have, well, this is the 28th of the month, and they told me if I don't have that money by the 1st, that's my last opportunity. But so between now and then, yeah, you stand in here, I remember when I didn't have it. But here is the key in that. To remember, I remember when Tessa is at the same time to declare that I was.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
I remember when has to, at the same time, there has to be the feeling of I was. And I remember when means I was. I remember when I was sick means I am now well.
Amen.
That's what it means.
Yes, it does.
I remember when means I am now not what I was.
That's right.
And not where I was.
Right.
So that's why today's topic is and now. That's where your next page is. The other page says. So in the first part you write, I remember when. That's where the problem is. That's the empty lot. Write it out. I remember when. That's the problem. That's the situation. I remember when I needed this. I remember when. I remember when I was angry. I remember when I wouldn't talk. I remember when this. I remember when. I remember when the doctor said. I remember when. But then and now, then right there at the same time, I got the money. I'm taking some flowers home. And there was nobody there ever before to take them to. You're not taking them to yourself anymore. So you stop and buy some flowers and go home and ring the door. Yeah! And keep on doing it until somebody answers the door that you want to answer the door. I remember when I lived alone and you want somebody gone. And now that food is done. And now I'm at peace by myself. Did you get this today?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
And now. And so you walk in the and now consciousness. And I told you, I warned you, I don't know how to tell you anymore. I pray and I fast. You better read it 3 or 4 times a day. Because it's going to mess up. If you don't, then and now is going to get messed up. And now. If you don't stay, the book says pray and fast. And it says, this kind goeth out no way except by prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting. Fasting, you got to keep your mind set in the mold so that the answer can feel itself in that mode of your desire. But if you're walking around still angry, still easily upset, and still allowing yourself to drift in and out of other people's drama, that's what children are for. That's what close relationships are for. That's what intimate relationships are for. That's not negative stuff. That's your seasoning. You know, it redirects you. It keeps you on. So just take a little time and let it keep you on path. Go ahead and deal with it, but don't deal with it out of the wrong emotion. Ego emotion. Stay in your spirit and spiritual emotion. And don't see it as what it is not, and don't hear as what it is not. You determine what you hear and how you hear, and you determine how you respond versus react. And you can train yourself to be like some people you know who deal with things totally different than you do. Did I just say that? And you can train yourself to respond to situations the same way you see some people respond to them, not letting it bother them at all. Not getting upset, not getting into, not be happy, let create some situation that you got to forgive something later. You know people that you have admired. How do you deal with that? Well, how did you handle that? You can do it too. You believe that you can?
Oh, yes.
Well, here's why I know you not only can do it, that you want to do it, and that you're going to do it, and that is because you're sick and tired of the situation. When you get sick and tired of it, and when you have finally decided, I've dealt with this long enough, And when you stop and really look at what it is costing you, you really take an inventory and take a look at what it is costing you now. It's very expensive. It's robbing you of time, energy, money, peace, sleep. It's prolonging healing. It's prolonging healing. You know what I'm saying? So with me, caller ID is the first help. Caller ID is the first tool for helping, but you get a caller ID in your head too. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, who needs some questions on what I'm talking about? To straighten out something that I've said, to clarify it, help you to apply it, or also share demonstrations to help me explain what we're talking about, how it's working. I don't want old stories, lesson stories, your own personal stories. So I don't want you to take my role of your teaching. Things real that you're dealing with in your life.
You said to focus on the end now. So in that, because I'm a big believer in speaking it out, putting it out there in the universe. So don't focus on this. Don't say that you remember when. Just go end now, or do I need to say?
Okay, you start here. Your end now is your conjunction.
One other thing, you said visualize a piece. Have an image in your mind. It took me a long time to understand this. I'm a feeler. Feeling it is
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to feel it. Yeah, because the whole thing is feeling is the secret. Yeah, this is how getting it into your feeling, the reality of it, the sensing of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I have a question, and I also have demonstrations of how it worked in the past. I'll deal with the demonstration. When I was 7 months pregnant with my son, my water bag broke, and the doctor told me they needed to do a C-section to save the child. And I didn't believe that he needed to do that just because the water bag broke. I prayed without ceasing, and the water bag sealed itself back up. So, and he was born, then at 10 months, he went and stayed in for 3 months. I stayed in bed, but at 9 months I got up, and he still didn't come. He went an extra month, and the doctor had to burst my water bag, and it was difficult for him to burst the water bag, because when God sealed it, it's sealed. So that was a demonstration of a past situation. I had challenges this past week with trying to do the whole list that you gave us and all of those things of not being in the negative thoughts and not being in all of those things that have happened. And the anniversary of my son's passing was this past Sunday, and that was at 28. The feelings, the pain, all of the guilt that I had came back, and I was saying, I've worked on this so many times, but just that day, it was there, and I kept wanting to do, I remember when, but I couldn't see myself through that, I had a lot of people responding on Facebook as I shared this finally in the evening. I kept having dreams of what ifs I had done it differently. What if I had not gone to work that day? What if I had gone back home when my gut was telling me, that something was wrong? What if I had done that? Would he still be alive today? So those were the things that plagued me. And I'd like to know how to be able to move this guilt out, and I remember when it was to not being a problem anymore in my life because I thought that I'd healed it. 9 years.
Go ahead.
So that's where I'm at now, is how do I move through that pain to be
Oh,
able
I got it. So I'm going to come back to you. Yeah.
Yes.
She finds it. Yeah, I'll find it. Yes.
I want to share how it has worked for me, the principle. I've always considered myself a quick healer. No matter what happens, cutting anything on my body heals well. I don't keloid, but I heal quick from the inside out. And I had bilateral hip replacement. When I was going to have it, people were astounded about me having both hips done at the same time. But my attitude was, I don't want to have to go back. If they're saying one looks like it's gonna be, then I should, then I can just go on and have another replacement after the first one didn't work. So I just was wanting to say how when you have the consciousness of something, how the evidence shows up that way, and that's how it showed up for me.
I'm glad that you shared that. This is the last question Sharon will take.
What else?